Chunibyo, otherwise known as Love, Chunibyo and Other Delusions, otherwise known as Even with Chunibyo I Want to Be in Love, otherwise known as No Not the Horror One, That's a Different Eye Patch Waifu, is a series I started watching 3 years ago, but for some reason I never ended up finishing it, and so that led me to finishing it about 5 hours ago. Kinda glad that I finished it now instead of 3 years ago, because the show is about a fellow who is ashamed of when they gave themselves a weird name and constantly spouted words from another language because they thought they looked cool. I have a feeling it would have gone over my head 3 years ago. But something else I was doing 3 years ago was studying a little book by the name of The Case of Dr. Jekyll and Mr. Hyde, which is a book about the duality of man. And technically it's about a lawyer who gets really nosy about one of his clients, but that's not important. What's important is that you don't need to read this novel, because Chunibyo is a much better story about the duality of man. So, in the words of Yu-Gi-Oh!
It's time to
Dual. Spelled with an A, not with an E, because dual means two. I'm clever. Obviously, there is the titular Chunibyo, which translates to second year syndrome. Second year means that there have been 2 years. 2. Duality. The opening of Chunibyo also shows the duality of man from its lyrics. Listen. This shows complexity through oxymorons. You see, a daiquiri is seen as a somewhat trashy cocktail, effectively being a slushy for alcoholics. However, daiquiris are not a sparkling beverage. It is possible that the word sparkling was in reference to sparkling wine, otherwise known as champagne, a drink which is seen as classy. This juxtaposition of trashy and classy shows a duality of sensibilities, and that isn't even mentioning the visuals. The screen is split in two throughout the OP, showing that there are 2 sides to every person, and the famous finger spin has a deeper meaning as well. The fingers spin in a way that creates a circle. However, when viewed from behind, the direction of Rika's ass creates a much more jagged line. The circle is in reference to the RAF and American Army, whereas the jagged edges represent that symbol that's probably not a good idea to show on YouTube. This is a reference to a world war. Which world war, you ask? Why, World War II! Just like there's 2 sides to every human being. Boom, duality. Rika is always wearing an eye patch in order to cover the eye from which she draws power. This is to protect it from the Bureau, and subsequently shows the duality of man, by having the sides that everyone could see, and the other which is forever concealed. Rika is both a master towards Dokomori, as well as a servant to the wicked Lord Shingan. This presents the dichotomy of master and slave, both of which are the moralities outlined by mustachioed Joel McHale, an important philosophical figure who I have definitely done research into, and haven't just skimmed his Wikipedia article. Duality. Yuta is the modern day Dr. Jekyll. Yuta wishes to boost his social standing and appear normal at high school, just how Dr. Jekyll wished to appear good in the eyes of his peers. However, like Dr. Jekyll, he has an angry side. An angry side that resorts to violence and brutality, and this is seen through all of the abuse he does unto Rika. What many people praise in Jekyll and Hyde is its use of environmental storytelling, but no one brings up the environmental storytelling in Chunibyo with Yuta's room. This shows the duality of man, as it appears regular on first look, but when you look in the hidden parts, you find the things he wants to keep a secret, such as pictures of guns. And I guess also his drawings of firearms. Duality. Dokomori has 2 plats, which both advantage and disadvantage her, showing the duality between useful and Kumin. Kumin is now my new word for useless. However, Kumin does have her own inner duality, as she is a waifu who carries a pillow. Waifus and pillows, of course, being the 2 most present elements in a waifu pillow. We also have Shinka, who shows the duality of man through both the cute side and her angry side. But most evident of all the dualities in the secondary cast is Ishiki. Ishiki is seen to be a defender of the boys! But throughout the series he is shown to be pathetic in his attempts at securing Kuchi. This shows the philosophical dichotomy of the virgin and the Chad. Duality. Moving on to the tertiary cast, we have the Togashi family, who represents the give and take dichotomy. The older of Yuta's younger sisters is supposedly responsible and looks out for her family. However, the younger sister took delight in taking the kids when she was pretending to divorce Toka. This is an action which would be attributed towards Karen, although ironically in the Monogatari series one of Araki's younger sisters is called Karen, although that's the older one. Also, speaking of families, we see 3 generations of the Takanashi family in this show, each one having 2 members. Don't know why that is, I think Yoda was involved somewhere.
Always 2 there are, no more. no less.
But still, 2 members for each generation of the family, not the second one, that guy's dead.
Duality.
And of course, we have the fact that there are 2 different ways of watching the first season of Chunibyo. The series, which is from a normal perspective, and the movie, which is from Rika's perspective. Or at least that's what the blurb says, despite the fact this movie is just a recap movie. Duality aside, I was disappointed by that movie. It could have been really interesting to see Rika recap everything through her own distorted view, but instead it's just clips from the anime, with 2 original scenes. One of which featuring a dragon interrupting a wedding ceremony. That kinda reminds me of something. So as I was saying, fuck Chunibyo, watch Shrek instead.